Hello everyone, welcome to your January Part 1 video scope. Happy New Year! We are heading into a number 6 vibration on planet, which is all about the earth energy, Gaia, nurturing home, nurturing business, building something through your loving intention. And we open to the beginning of this forecast with the transiting Jupiter square North Node. This came in and perfected on December 27th and is in orb and influence through January 6th. So this is speaking to about relations with other people, right? And either individuals or groups, and some of the stress that this may be incurring. And you may be keen to explore new connections with other people, but maybe having difficulty letting go of some of your older connections. Very much a Venus retrograde energy. She's retrograding through Capricorn. So as a result, this can be kind of a split time for you in some ways, or where you're feeling overcommitted. It's also possible that your sense of being is overwhelmed by some developments in your social world, social commitments. And this can bring a tendency to kind of want to withdraw from public life. So I find this interesting that the Jupiter square node is running concurrently with this Venus retrograde in Capricorn, which is all about public life, life direction, where you're going, and a going within, because certainly during this holiday season, we've seen very much a repeat pattern from last year at this time. We're still under the influence of that final Saturn-Uranus square, which has been so active in curbing freedom of choice and movement. But that will slowly be separating as we move through this month of January. But this is a time where you're pondering perhaps if your relationships are really helping you achieve your purpose in life. And if you feel compelled to let go of some of these associations in order to move into new or improved relating dynamics, then this is very much connected to this energy that we're seeing right now. And this could literally be the ending of some old relationships, or simply breaking old patterns of relationships so that they can continue in a renewed manner. Jupiter square that North Node, and the node is hanging out right at 1 degree of Gemini. And it's going to be moving into Taurus in just a couple of weeks. So with the Venus retrograde and this Jupiter square to the node in Gemini from Pisces to Gemini, this is very much a bit of a retreating time and a reorganizing time and rethinking time. Now we move into this new moon energy on the 2nd, and it's at 12 degrees of Capricorn, so I would be remiss if I didn't talk about power on planet. That'd be cheating if I didn't discuss the power on planet. But this new moon is exact at 1:34 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the 2nd of January. It is trining Uranus in Taurus of money, resources, finances. It is squaring Chiron, now direct in Aries, about freedom and personal will and personal identity. So those are the themes moving forward into the next couple of weeks. And I did cast a chart on this. I am 5 hours south of Washington, D.C. So I cast this chart to D.C. time in Virginia. And what's rising in the chart of this new moon is what? Taurus. So there's a huge focus here on finances, economy, resources. There is a pileup a stellium of energy in Capricorn as the Sun-Moon are conjunct, new moon, 12 degrees Capricorn. Venus is retrograde at this new moon at 22 degrees of Capricorn, very close to that degree mark of the Saturn-Pluto conjunction back in January of 2020. So we're coming right back to that theme that began 2 years ago. Finances, relationships. And then Pluto is at 26 degrees, within a degree now of the Pluto return in the United States chart. And Mercury is sitting at 0 degree of Aquarius. So the beginning of Mercury's long transit through Aquarius, as Mercury enters on the 2nd of January as well, and trines that North Node in Gemini, Aquarius, Gemini, social, future themes, plans, mind, communications. Mercury is going to retrograde on the 14th of January at 20 degrees of Aquarius. It will slip back into Capricorn on the 25th of January, and then it stations direct on the 3rd of February at 24 degrees of Capricorn. So we can see there's kind of a repeating of patterns that are taking us back even to 2 years ago, and perhaps even you're referencing all that has occurred from 2 years ago. And if we do take a look at some of that, you know, we've seen the past 2 years a coalition of the internet titans. We've seen a 3.8 trillion global transfer of wealth as 1 million businesses around the globe were shut down predominantly by middle class citizens on planet. But the same companies that are undergoing such immense profit are the very companies involved in censoring speech on the planet. We are certainly seeing constitutional issues at this 2-year mark through the freedom of speech, no public hearings through this 20-month emergency energy that seemingly is never going to quit, but it is going to start stalling more. We've had no public discussion. Any public discussion has been obliterated while media continues to weaponize the public against one another. And as I've said before, this is an old rule out of the old power playbook, is conquer and divide. And you can't challenge anything. This is a complete obliteration of constitutional governance. But Pluto returns in a country's chart reliably bring up these issues of corruption, overreach, power, and certainly in the United States chart, we are seeing an immense transfer of financial wealth that's been occurring strongly over the past 20 years. So these are the themes, and now I'm going to come back in and say, in teachings that my guides were bringing forth about 5 years ago, and I didn't like the teaching much at the time, but I see the wisdom of their message currently, and that is, this time on planet is so powerful because of the very controlling energies that are governing it. It is the propulsion system to grow, ascend, elevate, awaken, and be that light. Because on planet Earth, we polarize things in order to create things. That's what we call the duality. Polarity in order to create and manifest. And that you need to learn their teaching 5 years ago to kind of enjoy it and to not feel trapped by it, but rather to create instead. Because the universe is about frequencies. And so everyone and everything is like a radio station that you can tune yourself into the frequencies that you want to hear. When you tune yourself into a new frequency, you hear new messages, and this is what multidimensionality is. But certainly, with this time on planet and Venus retrograding through Capricorn, people are assessing where they need to go, where their life direction is. We're seeing a lot of migration out of some of the states in this country that are more controlling than other states. It's literally a duality of living situations, and people deciding where they need to plant themselves as we're moving through this time of extreme control and corruption on planet. And this is a stretch, I realize, but they even went so far as to say, the guide energy, and I work with the Arcturian collective, that if you can unify and thank these good enemies for what they're doing, thank you for the division, as now I know what to unite. Now I know what to create. And certainly we've been seeing this with the media in this country, the breaking away of and the emergence of all of these new information systems, independent media outlets that are not within the pharmaceutically funded, the Pfizer TV, and those platforms that are allowing for free speech, and people are finding their way to these resources of information, discussion, discourse. In fact, just this past month in December, a podcaster with the initials JR just had the largest viewership ever at 40 million. This podcaster is pulling in triple the amount of any of the corporate cable channels. So we're seeing, and this has been part of this North Node through Gemini, the emergence of new communication systems, new ways to access information, all of that. And then I remind you that this node transiting through Gemini has also been bringing a focus to the local community. Where you live has never become more important in the United States, because you're literally seeing completely different living situations and controls and compliance measures in different parts of the country. So again, Gemini, we're seeing the duality of the locale and the community. Now, also, as I look to this chart, this pileup in Capricorn is up there in that 9th house of media, but also legal systems, higher courts, foreign countries. There are a lot of courts that are challenging a lot of the mandates in this country, and we are seeing some breakthroughs around them. Also, an interesting note for you in the 9th house is very much about legalities, is we are still under this emergency use medicine, which provides a shelter from liability. The medicine that passed through the FDA this past fall is not what's being delivered currently. That's supposed to arrive in 2022. Once the medicine passes the regulatory process, it loses its liability shield, with one caveat, that if it is a mandated medicine for children, that shield from liability comes back into play. And you can research that on Google through, I'm sure, some strong lobbying efforts more than a decade ago, I believe, that changed the liability structure for these companies. We also are seeking those who petition for freedom of information, and these companies are saying it will take 50, 55 years to reveal the information around this medicine due to all of the redaction that would need to occur. So you can't access what's in them or how they were brought into development. It's a very interesting time, isn't it? So we're seeing this confluence of energy as we're moving into this Pluto return. The United States has a bearing on the globe, the trends in the globe. I also want to acknowledge, though, that there are world leaders. There were, I think, 5 presidents who weren't willing to go along with the situation, and all of them either passed away or were voted out of office. So I also want to acknowledge that there are people in positions of power who are feeling their own freedom extremely limited and using their own good judgment and will. And that's helpful to remember in some cases. So this new moon also sees Mars in Sagittarius, making almost an exact square to an energy it's a centaur planet called Orcus. And I like to look at Orcus. Orcus is about the energy of seeing below the surface of things. Orcus is about renewing one's soul mission for this lifetime. So Orcus is transiting through Virgo in this new moon chart at 14 degrees, 10 seconds. Mars is at 14 degrees of Sagittarius in 22 seconds, applying that square. Sagittarius is belief systems. Virgo is about health practices, facts, grounded detail and analysis. So it's interesting. I feel that these two are in square. And Mars is within 2 degrees of squaring Nessus in Pisces. Nessus in Pisces. Pisces is also about health and where people go to recover, such as hospitals and retirement homes and prisons. Nessus has been playing such a large role on this planet for the past several years because this country has also been going through its Nessus return. And the Nessus mythology, like most of these centaur mythologies, are nasty and harsh, but Nessus, raped in his mythology. He betrayed in his mythology. This has been part of all of the sexual power abuse themes that have been coming up and out on planet the past 4 to 5 years, especially because Nessus is about betrayal. Nessus is about abuse and often can carry a sexual connotation, and the information that it brings forth when Nessus is strong in its transit. Nessus is a slow orbiting planet as well, not unlike Pluto. So Mars isn't far from squaring. It's just 2 degrees off from squaring Nessus. Taurus rising in the US chart, in the DC chart. So we see Venus in retrograde up there in that 9th house, Capricorn of higher courts, global situations, finances. Venus rules the United States 5th house of children and women's affairs. So this Venus retrograde is bringing up women's affairs, women's situation, the relationship to children, children's health, and how that is tied to legalities and government systems and power and control energy. What else do we have here? Chiron is at 8 degrees 32 seconds in Aries in the 12th house. So Uranus and Chiron are both in the 12th house. In mundane astrology, the 12th house also speaks to those which are secret and not visible. They're out of public view, but they have control and influence into what is in public view. And the North Node at 1 degree is in that 1st house, which is about the country's identity and how it is making announcements and the situation and the dynamics and within the country. And so, as I've stated before, that North Node is being challenged by Jupiter in that 11th house, Jupiter Pisces. The 11th house is local governments, but Jupiter also has a 9th house bearing, which is speaking about courts and legalities and pressures being brought to bear in some cases by different states and different state governments and locales. So There is our new moon chart as we move forward into this passage ahead. From the 10th until the 13th of January, we're seeing Mars squaring Neptune. That perfects from 21 degrees of Sag to Pisces. Sag, again, is about belief systems, media, foreign countries. Squaring Neptune in Pisces is about delusion, illusion, leaks. There's a lot of whistleblowers coming forth, all of the censored whistleblowers who are finding other platforms in which to share and discuss. But also this can be confusion, and Mars square Neptune can be a lowered energy and feeling even a little victimized, feeling low, feeling down. So you want to take care of yourself through this passage here if your vital energy feels lowered. And then on the 14th, Mercury stations retrograde at 28 degrees. So on the days surrounding Mercury, 13th, 14th, 15th is when it's more problematic with technological doodads, cell phones, commuting, etc. But I feel people really kind of expand the negative aspects of Mercury retrograde. Mercury retrograding in Aquarius is about the reviewing of your goals, your friends, your relationships, what would make you happy, what would be meaningful for you. So important because there's so much creativity going on, so much awakening going on, so much development going on that can be tricky for some people because it's not readily visible in our established media outlets and information exchanges because so much of that is being suppressed. But this is the time to get clear on all of that, It's really going to feel like our new year starts in February. And I do see this frequently from year to year, that we run into the retrogrades in the January period. And then as all of the personal planets, which they will all be moving forward by the 5th of February, you're going to feel that your life, external trajectory is moving forward as well. So if you can stay in this realm of even rest and some respite and a bit of a going within, and then, when Mercury stations direct on, the 3rd of February, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, Mercury storm period. But Mercury retrograde doesn't mean you stop living your life. It means oftentimes that you have more time to think things through. Now, retrograding in the social sign of Aquarius, friendships, connections, just like the Venus retrograde, people may not be as outwardly demonstrative or affectionate or reaching out as much. There is just a collective energy of containment and in some cases even a bit of a withdrawal. That need not be a negative, but rather the breathing in or the contraction before this expansion occurs as we're moving into this February timeframe and the new moon in Aquarius. On the 14th, Ceres also stations direct, the mothering energy at 27 degrees of Taurus. And as as Ceres, mother, food, quality of food, that's really important now too. Supplements are really important in this day and age where we're getting less and less nutrition from our food supplies. That is very much a part of this society, which is pretty unhealthy society. A lot of people here have degenerative diseases. They're walking around with lots of inflammation and immune issues. And much of this is tied to our diet and the toxins that we're exposed to in our food supply through corporate farming, degenerated soil, all of the repellents that are used to kill the bugs. Bugs only attack unhealthy plants. Remember that. Bugs don't bother those plants that are functioning and growing as they should. But certainly, this is a time for all of us to be thinking about high quality supplements and taking care of our day-to-day health and managing inflammation. Managing inflammation, that is the basis of most disease. For so many who are physically well and their immune is well, this past 2-year period has been just a nothing burger, while others who are at a different baseline of health and a different age, there's been a lot of suffering, and also souls that are saying, okay, I'm done. If we were less afraid of death, this whole thing wouldn't work so well. None of us are promised tomorrow. None of us are leaving this planet alive. And as I've said before, the transition from this energy and this density is often a relief, and moving back into the broader perspective of soul and the oversoul and the soul family. This planet is dramatic as it's working with duality themes and polarity themes, and how much can I grow and heal and reconnect with my own energy system to perceive and do and create in a different way while on this planet. All right. Much love to all of you. Happy New Year. My service offerings are in the description and in the comments below. Be well. Be well.